Did you know I like Mario? I don't just like New Super Mario Bros. From DS. Sub 24 soon, I promise. I like all the lessons! My favorite was especially the Mario RPG series. And I like a lot of other lessons, like Zelda, Donkey Kong, Pokemon, and Metroid, and Smash Bros! I almost forgot. I grew up with Ball and I live with Ultimate. And do you know what is the link between those licenses? Nintendo. I'll finally be able to talk about my favorite video game studio in the world. I would have said in the ideal world, but I come back to that later. Well, to start, just everyone knows about Nintendo. They have conquered everything. All the generation of players got their console. But to talk about Nintendo, we have to know what is behind. And I have lied to you. Nintendo is not a little sympathetic studio, this is an enterprise. They have managers and people with costume and tie. Maybe I extrapolate. Some quick number. And yeah, I know you can see that line here. We're gonna talk about it later. And yeah, for sure, I think we can believe them. Nintendo got more over than 100 years of existence. Depends about what we call Nintendo. The society with the name Nintendo or the creator of video games. At the start, the company that would become Nintendo created cards. And no! Not those. Between 1900 and 1950, the company Nintendo & Co. is a famous collective which sells this card in Japan. And after 1950 and after being a great success in Japan, the success is shared to the world thanks to a certain partnership, the sales card featuring Walt Disney characters, and the very wide distribution of cards for children. Since 1963, the company has become more and more interested of the creation of games, and it has established itself enough to be recognized as an actor of the development of electronic games. Here we begin to enter the story that people know best, with arcade game and soon the first Nintendo video game console in collaboration with Mitsubishi Electric, TV Game 15 and TV Game 6, followed later by Nintendo Color TV games. Then is the moment where everything comes together and directly create the immortal reputation of the video game giants. In the 80s, there is the creation of Nintendo of America subsidiary and the creation of the first portable game console, the Game & Watch. The Donkey Kong game then arrived, created by Shigeru Miyamoto. This is the beginning of a world-famous character, Jumpman. Yeah, little anecdote now, because we all missed having in our childhood new Super Jumpman Bros, Jumpman Kart, and Cat Jumpman. The new owner of Nintendo of America at the time was called Mario Segali, and that was apparently enough to rename Jumpman to Mario. So either everyone really loved these guys, or we skipped 1/3 of the anecdote over ages. Well, I said that, but fortunately it was Mario and not...
Insert a joke about a band name, then a montage of Mario game jackets with other names.
Anyway, there's so much thing we have to say about Nintendo, since I have to talk 3 minutes. But now we are in the period that everyone knows. We got the Famicom in Japan and renamed NES in the mondial release, with all the games that made Nintendo famous: Exit Bite, Metroid, Punch-Out!, The Legend of Zelda, and Super Mario Bros. The character of Mario was already known as Mickey Mouse among children. And then everyone knows the Game Boy, the Super NES, the Nintendo 64, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy SP, and at this time Nintendo has filial in all corners of the world. It's just not Nintendo in Japan and Nintendo of America. No, they are everywhere, and we are only at the very beginning on the 2000. Then the GameCube came, and the Nintendo DS, DS Lite, Wii, DSi, DSi XL, 3DS, 3DS XL, Wii U, 3DS Lite, 2DS, new 3DS, and new 3DS XL, new 2DS XL, and I have the impression that things are going around in circles, right? Switch, Switch Lite, Switch OLED, Switch XL, no, I'm kidding. Well, now that I have read Wikipedia, obviously omitting a lot of information, what are we talking about here? No, because we have star in our eyes after everything we have seen, but did I talk about everything that's important? In fact, and this is what I want to talk about more or less from the beginning, there are two big facets here we've simplified a lot at Nintendo. The creator, the genius, who have given life to a lot of brilliant games and who redefine games and technique, a company that carries the dream of gamers and the art of video games on their shoulder. Then there is the company, which use the license it has for, well, the profit? We're not going to lie. Who manage to ignore the player who complain and at the same time always give the same thing to an audience who doesn't ask for more. Those who press and press licenses like never before, except perhaps with Call of Duty. But in fact, it's a recurring problem with all the mega video game companies. And if we like the word Nintendo, it's for their games, their incredible license. But how does it work? How do they create these games? How it is possible that so much creativity comes direct from Nintendo? Well, it's because in fact, all their license is distributed from other studios. There are dozens and dozens third-party studios who have worked at Nintendo. Impossible to mention all of them and impossible to tell all their stories, but I swear to you that learning about the studios make you understand so much about the state of the game that come out of Nintendo, all the stories of affiliated studio independent which collaborate with Nintendo, directly assimilated studio, licensed studio, or sadder, the bankrupt studio. Special mention for Alpha Dream because it's my video, it's the studio that created the license Mario and Luigi, my favorite games among other, who went bankrupt in 2019. They were almost all repaid by Nintendo, but working for Nintendo, I imagine it's not the same as working for Nintendo. Is that why the license is stopped and the last one we had was remake and were worse than the originals? I don't know. Super Mario RPG doesn't count. It's not the same people who work on it. It was Square at this time. Even if the two directors Yoshihiko Maekawa and Shiro Fujioka and the compositor Yoko Shimomura worked on the series Mario and Luigi. And there are stories like that on every Nintendo related game simply because Nintendo is huge. They have everything and they do what they want. And in particular, what they want is even more money. This is the criticism most linked to Nintendo. It is that they are no longer trying to revolutionize video games. Nintendo is relying on what they have already created. We could say to ourselves that they are not doing anything wrong. They have the right anyway. And yes, indeed they have the right, but the way in which they do it, it's really something to criticize. When you have money and you're the biggest company in the world of video games, you don't take risk, because everything you do has a cost and you can't afford to make mistakes. When some things make money, we do it again until there is nothing left to gain from it. If a game poses problem, we oblige the license and you are 100% sure that they'll never bring it out again. No risk taken. We are a long way from the video game revolution on each console. Every Nintendo Direct will like this. You see that slight but frustrated smile? Well, yeah, we're happy because it's a Nintendo game and we grew up with it, but we wonder where the new thing is. Forgot Mario Wonder, please, it doesn't work in my development. Sequel at best, otherwise no sequel. Remake of ports and in the worst case, Pokemon. Not really in the games themselves. And you can totally like the recent Pokemon. If you like Nintendo make a fun of your face, that's your right! But what the license represent is the operation of the money factory. The game comes so fast that there's no more time to develop them, but the decision maker don't care. Everyone buy because it's Pokemon, and it's the most horrible thing that can happen to a license in the first place. Nintendo would hardly throw game cartridge at us like we would throw crumb at pigeon to make it become over rice. And it's the worst thing that can happen to a video game company. No longer having to make efforts to release games. For each idea of a new game, they don't have around 15 meetings with 1,000 screenwriters. Nope, they look at the top game that they have not yet made a sequel or remakes, and on the next Switch, we will have the launch game, which will be Super Mario Bros. Wonder 2. And like, it's not just me who find it's the opposite of what we could call a creative process. Their games are really a consumer product at the first level, and I find that very, very sad. And then we can debate what video games should look like. Are video games an art? What are their specificities? Are there examples? What is a good video games? What is a bad video games? What is a video games? What is interesting in video games? I'll let you talk about that in the comments. If I don't say anything stupid, I think I've gone a little too far from the subject.
Why am I alive?